Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to weave together the week's biggest headlines to understand exactly how massive global disruption ultimately hits our local realities. We're connecting the dots from international corporate warfare all the way down to the daily grind of city life. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We'll be covering 1. Tech battles and market shifts, 2. Global conflicts and security, 3. U.S. politics and economy, and 4. Local realities in daily life. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. Tech battles and market shifts.
So right out of the gate, Apple is actively accusing its former executives of smuggling hardware and secrets directly to OpenAI. It's pretty wild. They allege OpenAI's chief hardware officer, Tang Tan, who used to be an Apple executive, stole trade secrets to help OpenAI build competing devices. The suit actually claims Tan emailed himself confidential supplier info and, get this, even directed job candidates to bring actual Apple parts to their interviews for a literal show and tell. This whole fierce legal battle directly follows the rapid breakdown of their 2024 partnership back when OpenAI was originally supposed to power Siri. But look, corporate warfare isn't just about stolen secrets, right? Sometimes it's strictly about survival. Volkswagen is facing an absolute existential threat right now, producing a mere 14 cars per employee. Now, to put that into perspective, compare that to BMW at 25 or Toyota leading the pack at 28. Basically, VW's workers are producing half of what Toyota's are. Because of this massive efficiency gap, which is compounded by intense competition from Chinese EVs and new tariffs, Volkswagen is planning an unprecedented overhaul. They're actually looking to slash their vehicle lineup by as much as half just to survive.
$858 million. That represents the minimum value held in President Trump's investments accounts in 2025. But what's really fascinating here isn't just the sheer size of the wealth, it's how it was unleashed. See, after a $500 million civil fraud penalty against the Trump businesses was reversed by an appeals court, a massive mountain of cash that had been tied up as collateral was suddenly freed up. So what happened next? Once that cash was unlocked, the Charles Schwab accounts deployed rapid automated trading strategies. Specifically, they used something called direct indexing, where algorithms automatically buy individual stocks to perfectly mimic a market index. Over 21,000 automated trades were executed across the president's accounts in just one single year. These algorithms rapidly bought and sold stocks to capitalize on market volatility. And incredibly, that included buying dips that were directly caused by the president's own sudden tariff announcements.
Section 2. Global conflicts and security.
Shifting gears a bit, the dynamic of the war in Ukraine is fundamentally changing. Russia has really bet on a slow, grinding war of attrition, using infantry infiltrations to inch forward in places like the Donetsk region. But they're increasingly getting challenged by Ukraine's highly adaptable strategy. Yes, Ukraine is stretching its forces, but they're effectively fighting back with a heavy, long-range drone campaign. They are systematically targeting Russian oil refineries and logistical supply routes deep behind the front lines. It's really proving that time might not actually be on Moscow's side. Meanwhile, over in the Middle East, the interim peace agreement with Iran is falling apart incredibly fast. As you can see here, it went from a signed deal in June promising safe shipping straight into early July skirmishes where commercial ships were literally being fired upon in the Strait of Hormuz. By mid-July, the U.S. resumed heavy bombardments and issued brand new sanctions. The Trump administration is now signaling that a broader nuclear deal might just be completely unachievable at this point. And, these exact geopolitical tensions have direct, tangible impacts on the commander-in-chief. This beautiful new jet, which was actually donated by Qatar, lacked the necessary defensive capabilities for a high-threat environment. During a recent NATO trip to Turkey, Israeli intelligence warned of a potential Iranian plot. Because of that threat, President Trump had to completely abandon this new jet and fly home on an older, fully defended Air Force One 747. And experts point out that outfitting a luxury plane with presidential-grade defenses isn't just a quick fix you can do over a weekend. It's a massive engineering challenge. It actually takes 3 to 4 years to retrofit a jet with the classified countermeasures required to keep a president safe. This reality fundamentally alters how this new luxury jet can actually be used for overseas travel going forward.
Section 3. U.S. politics and economy.
Bringing it back stateside, heading into the midterms, the Democratic National Committee is facing a pretty stark financial reality. Holding $126.7 million in cash, the DNC has exactly half the $256.1 million war chest currently held by the Republican National Committee. As you can imagine, this 2-to-1 cash disadvantage is naturally sounding some major alarm bells for Democratic operatives.
And complicating matters further, DNC Chair Ken Martin is controversially sticking to a grassroots,
50-state strategy. Despite the party holding over $18 million in debt left over from the 2024 campaign, he's distributing $1 million every single month, equally across all state and territory parties. Critics are quick to point out that this means sending the exact same size checks to non-voting territories like Guam as they do to crucial battleground states like Pennsylvania. It's a move that has for sure frustrated some major party donors. Now, this political dissatisfaction directly bleeds into how we measure the economy. Take the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey, for example. The index recently hit record lows, but a lot of critics argue the data itself is flawed. When the survey switched from phone to web in 2024, economists estimate it artificially depressed the score by 9 points, basically because people are just way more negative online. Furthermore, analysts argued the survey now has a heavy Democratic sample size, and since Democrats are currently expressing high political dissatisfaction, it's driving the overall economic sentiment score down even further. But on the legislative front, there actually is some movement. A landmark bipartisan housing affordability bill is set to become law. Now, notably, this is happening without the president's signature because he refused to sign it over unrelated demands for nationwide voter ID laws. But with this bill passing and mortgage rates inching down from that brutal 8% peak, we are already seeing real estate demand pick up. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines of the housing market, this 14% jump in mortgage lock volume heading into the summer is definitely a signal you'll want to pay attention to. Section 4. Local realities and daily life. Let's zoom all the way down to the local level now. In Santa Monica, California, the city recently had to declare fiscal distress. After suffering through devastating wildfires, massive pandemic revenue losses, and crippling liability settlements totaling $230 million, the reality on the ground is really tough. Their famous pedestrian promenade is now grappling with a staggering 20% retail vacancy rate. They're losing major anchor stores like Nordstrom as foot traffic just completely dried up. So how does a city bounce back from a hit like that? Well, you kind of have to rewrite the rules. To lure visitors back, Santa Monica is ditching its older, highly restrictive zoning laws. They're now allowing fast food chains like Raising Cane's to open up. They've even established entertainment zones where you can walk around with open alcohol containers on the weekends. They're slashing outdoor dining fees to help restaurants and heavily increasing police patrols in the downtown core to ensure the area feels safe and vibrant once again. Across the country, in New York, we see the reality of the daily grind for individuals just trying to make it. Workers like Ronnie's Cheminez handle the incredibly grueling, dirty work of cleaning the sprawling subway system. They're working overnight shifts, hauling heavy trash, mopping up human waste, and breathing in subway dust literally just to keep the city moving. Now, wrap your head around this number. 75,000. That is the number of people who applied for just 3,700 of these transit cleaner jobs in 2022. The demand for a stable job is so astronomical that applicants like Jimenez often sit on wait lists that can last up to 4 entire years just to get an entry-level position sweeping platforms. But, that intense demand makes total sense when you view this job as a stepping stone. Starting as a cleaner provides a union job with a pension and near-free health care. From there, workers can pass a civil service exam and get promoted up the chain, moving to a station agent or eventually a train operator, making over $43 an hour. It's a guaranteed, reliable path upward in a highly unpredictable economy. Finally, let's look at the gateway to the future workforce, education. Top colleges like Tulane and Washington University are completely changing the rules of the game. They are slashing their supplemental application essays. Why? Well, partly to reduce the immense stress on high schoolers, but heavily because they simply can no longer distinguish between genuine student writing and artificially polished AI-generated fluff. But here's the thing. This change removes a massive friction point, which means total application numbers are expected to absolutely skyrocket as students mass apply to schools. And that leaves us with a fascinating, critical question for the future of our workforce and education system. In a world where AI can write the perfect essay, and colleges are asking for fewer of them, how will a student truly stand out from the algorithm? Think about that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.